What's happening, everybody? Stickbow Chronicles brought to you by Black Widow Bows. I'm Rob Patuto, and as years have gone by, traditional Bowhunter magazine. Well, this is kind of twofold. Super excited, stoked to announce that the Stickbow Chronicles is partnered with the traditional Bowhunter magazine, and I've read that for, I think I subscribed like 6 or 8 months. I don't think it was a full year after it was premiere issue came out in '89. So yeah, I'm that old, and the magazine's that old. So really, it's pretty cool at this point in time to come full circle and now to be working with them. Really excited, looking forward to it. But that ties right into this episode, and this episode was it was scheduled before I got together with Carrie and figured something out. So it's kind of funny because if you've been a subscriber of Traditional Bowhunter magazine, if you've read it through the years, no doubt you have read about Outer Limits and, gosh, I forget the first boat's name. Anyways, Homer Ocean Charters. It's Rourke Brown up there runs an outfit where you're on a boat in Alaska, be it hunting deer or hunting bear, or he's got a whole bunch of other trips, but that's what I've always read about, just floating around, glassing for bears in the spring and summer and eating crab. I mean, holy smokes. That's pretty awesome. So yeah, that's the guest today. And Brian Burkhart, Brian's been on here a ton. He's like an honorary co-host. He's been up there a bunch, so I was like, hey, Brian, why don't you jump on and kind of help navigate this one? So, yep, Brian, Rourke Brown, and myself talking about hunting in Alaska, kind of a unique hunt, vessel-based. Yeah, pretty fun. Good time to talk to him, and other than I scratched the heck out of my pickup today, I'm waiting for that to calm down and see if maybe the wife wants to go up and do a little combo fishing / bear hunting trip maybe next year. So great option for the family. Hope you guys enjoy this episode. I enjoyed talking to Rourke and Brian. Like I said, pretty stoked to be working with Traditional Bowhunter magazine. Go on their website, tradbow.com. Subscribe to the magazine. You can buy back issues on there, and man, there's a ton of knowledge, wealth of knowledge all through the years there. And if you listen to the episode with Mike Harris and I think maybe 2 weeks ago about bear baiting, this current issue there, you can read the article that spurred that discussion on, and tell me what you think. Matter of fact, get that magazine, read that article, and tell me what you think. I'd love to hear your thoughts out there. So, let's see. I think that's it. I think that's a wrap. Want a big thanks to the sponsors: Footed Shaft, Kifaru International, Selway Archery, and of course Black Widow Bows, and the new edition Traditional Bowhunter magazine. There's tons of great manufacturers in the circle that we run in, right? Bows, quivers. I hesitate to say packs because I am pretty particular, pretty fond of my Kifaru pack, but there's really only one magazine, right? So really stoked to have TBM on board, and great lineup. Support those companies. Hey, just send them an email or call them and bug them and say, hey, thank you for supporting the Stickbow Chronicles. It's a small community. It's a cool community. That's it. That's all I got. I'll shut up now. Enjoy your week. Enjoy the episode. Roger out. All right. What's going on, guys?
Good morning from Alaska.
Yeah, good morning, Northern Michigan.
Northern Michigan. I got Brian Burkhart on here, who is borderline co-host at this point. So
I'm borderline.
Borderline.
Yeah, borderline Alaska resident at this point.
Yeah.
Well, I'm questioning his commitment. Rourke, he's out on the boat tooling around, having fun, and we're supposed to be working here. So his
He's doing what we all should be doing. We just don't all have the capability, I guess. But yeah,
well, you don't have a
smart enough
boat.
to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you have, Rourke? 5 boats or 6?
No, 5 big ones and some other little ones, and yeah, no shortage of toys.
Oh,
There you go.
stuff. So we got Rourke on here. What's the name of your outfit?
It's Homer Ocean Charters from Homer, Alaska.
Homer, Alaska. And it's funny because anybody that spent any time reading Traditional Bowhunter magazine, that's what jumps right out at you is, for several decades, everybody's been going up and hunting off of your water-based. What do you call it? A water-based hunt? How do you describe them?
Vessel-based hunt. There, it's kind of we bought this business 30 years ago now, and I guess we were fortunate that that's kind of a generic name because we do a lot of different products on the water. We're not Homer halibut fishing or Joe's salmon fishing or something. We're generic enough that we can work in some hunting products and research and all kinds of different things.
Cool. You've been up there a few times, Brian.
Oh, yeah. Let's see. I'm trying to think how many times I've gone on, I think, 2 Kodiak deer hunts with Rourke. And then I've gone on, I don't know, what would you say, Rourke, 5 or 6 fishing trips?
Something like that. Yeah, it all kind of blends together. And I keep thinking you've done Kodiak with me more than that, but I guess you're on your own there several times with Monty and other guys. So
yeah, I did a couple drop camps and then did the boat camps. And it's unique, the differences between the two. They're both fun, but they're definitely different. The advantage of being on the boat is you get you get the staterooms to sleep in, so it's very comfortable. You don't have to worry about bears, which is a bonus, and the meals are top shelf. I mean, Rourke, are you classified as a chef? If not, you should.
Not technically, but I did own a restaurant for 9 years, and not that I cooked in the restaurant, but it's a little different style of cooking. But I've always enjoyed cooking, so I'm not good at any other kind of art or music or that type of thing. But so cooking is kind of my creative outlet, I guess. So I'm fortunate all my other captains like to cook too, so we have fun with it.
Yeah.
When we're out deer hunting, Rourke and his crew are pulling up crab pots, and you come back and it's all you can eat crab. I mean, it's outstanding.
Well, I was going to say, let's just cut through all the BS there. Everybody would love to go sit on a boat, glass for bears and eat crab.
Yeah. Yeah, we were just up there fishing, Rob. As we had a group. This is Dale Karch, TJ Conrads, myself, Julian Tisdale, Rich Niblock, and Kevin Barr, believe it or not. And we were up there with Rourke and his son Ashton, who's a super fine young man. And we had a blast. What did we bring home, Rourke? 650 pounds of fillets?
Yeah, 670, I think. Oh,
yeah.
The weather was decent, but it wasn't like as exceptional or anything. But it had some good fishing, and our, I don't know, was that the 4th one, the 4th annual HOC Invitational, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm ready for number 5.
An annual event, so yeah, I look forward to it every year. It's one of the few times I can go out and actually fish for fun anymore.
Hey, Rourke, how long have you known TJ?
It's I kind of stumbled into the whole traditional bow hunting scene just accidentally. It's just one of those fortuitous things that happen. But this will be my, I guess, 30th year owning this business, 29th or 30th. And we used to do quite a few sports shows before the internet, and it was the only way I connect with people back then. And And so we were doing the Great Alaska Sportsman Show up in Anchorage, and we had done it forever. We even did before we owned this business, and kind of an annual event. And there was a guy selling King of the Mountain gear right next to us there, and you're sitting in the booth for 4 days, so obviously you get to know people pretty well, for better or worse. And well, that was Mark Vieweg that a lot of people know. He was selling King of the Mountain back then, and a traditional bow hunter. And I think Jay Massey had invited TJ up to be a speaker at the show, and Mark knew TJ already, and he said, well, I should introduce you to this guy. And we had talked for a couple of days already about deer hunts, and so we ended up going out to sushi with TJ and Mark, and then a couple other people then, and which I'm embarrassed to say was my first sushi exposure. We have great sushi in Anchorage, but first time, and went out and just kind of hit it off and got talking about our deer hunts. And TJ scheduled a trip. I was back on our old boat, the Sourdough, with the common 6 bunks in the bow, and we had a real good trip, a good group of guys, several of whom were still involved and keep coming back with us, and have done, gosh, I don't know how many trips since then. So if Mark would have had a different booth number, I don't know if I'd ever been exposed to traditional bow hunters, or it would have taken a lot longer there, but it's been a real good relationship for us. It's TJ's been a real upstanding guy and has introduced me to folks like you, and it's turned into not just long-term clients, but long-term friends. And that's one of the reasons I'm in this business. We get to meet folks, and I've got you guys coming up here pretty quick for another trip. And right after you, I've got an 8-day trip with guys I met probably 2 years before you at another show in Denver that are doing a 8-day fishing trip and changing out some guys midstream by airplane. And I've hunted elk with them down in Colorado, and you just get to be good friends. So that's one of the big advantages of doing this stuff.
Yeah, it's in the outfitting world, if you have return clients, and especially like you're talking over years and years, that's certainly better than any review you can find online, for sure.
It's this is going to be my 30th year doing the Kodiak deer hunts. I actually ran a boat for a air taxi operator, commercial seine boat, a year before we bought this business, and we were in the process of buying it that fall, and back then communications aren't what they are now. So I was to the point of climbing a telephone pole at a remote cannery that had a phone system, and trying to negotiate purchase agreements and that type of thing. So a lot of history there, but lots of memories and long time doing it. But for us, the repeat clientele, our Kodiak hunts, it's actually fairly unusual not to have at least part of the group that have been there before, and it makes it so much easier for us. It's like going out with old friends. And Brian's seen it, if we go out on the boat, I cook and do different things, and it's the same thing I do with clients, only we get paid for it then. So it's what we enjoy doing, and it just people sense that too. When you're having a good time, and it makes it enjoyable for everybody. I try and teach my boat crews that people just want to have fun. They're spending a lot of money to come up here and have a good time. If you have a good time with them, it's a win-win for everybody.
Heck yeah.
Absolutely.
Heck yeah.
Well, hey, speaking of TBM, Rob, don't you have a partnership with TJ?
Yeah. It was funny because we had this podcast was scheduled, I don't know, not quite a month ago, but I was talking to Carrie on and off for a while, and we're kind of partnered up and going to do some promoting, and pretty excited about it. They're over 30 years, right? 1989. Yeah. So being up 31 years. And anybody our age, Brian, right? That's how we all, not communicated, but that was a big part, through the 90s and 2000s. It was a big part of just staying connected was Traditional Bowhunter magazine. And so I'm pretty stoked to be working with them. Looking forward to it for sure. So
Yeah,
I guess
it was the go-to. Oh, go ahead.
No, I guess my point was having read so many stories about Rourke's outfitting business in TBM through the years. Me and my buddy Mike always talked about going up there and doing a vessel-based hunt. And that's why I said, man, sit on the back of the boat, eating crab and glassing for bears sounds. I'm not sure you could spend a better spring bear hunt than that. So pretty excited. So yeah, excited to have Rourke here and excited to be with Traditional Bowhunter magazine for sure.
Yeah, they've definitely been a big help for us over the years. We've had a lot of feature pieces in there, and TJ even did a interview with me because I guess I've been around almost since the beginning with them there, and been a long-term advertiser. And any more, for better or worse, we've kind of moved away from all of our print advertising and gone more to internet and online, and now more social media and all the modern things. But the one print ad I keep, other than our local visitors guide, is in TBM, and it's always produced well for me. And it's just having a continued presence there has been beneficial. And TJ and Carrie are definitely people I feel good supporting, and they've been real leaders in the industry and friends. And so that's definitely been a good marketing tool for us over the years.
I was going to just say, Rob, that Rourke's been a huge supporter of bow hunters, through PBS and Pope and Young, and to his point, he's just got a ton of repeat clients. I mean, I was talking to Rourke about doing another bow Kodiak hunt. He's like, I'm booked 100%. So he had a couple cancellations this year because of COVID, but they filled up right away. So it was unusual. A couple of guys got a pretty neat opportunity to go up there this year.
Did you already fill that hunt?
It was worked out pretty well. We sent out a newsletter. We're doing, again, more of the online stuff, and we kind of advertised that week and ended up not only selling that week, but we sold another week, and I think a couple other seats besides that, and it worked better than we expected. But it is, we have so much repeat clientele that when I decide to open a week up, that usually 5 or 6 weeks are gone right out of the middle. As soon as I tell people, I just make a phone call and they say they want them, and it's gone. So it is unusual to have that week available, and not, in my mind, not that it's any better than the rest. Kodiak is more of a weather related type of thing, but it's good all season. It opens up August 1st and runs through the end of the year, and we hunt primarily late September into early December. So we're concentrating on the peak of the season there anyway. But that week filled right up, and certainly happy about that.
Now, explain what start off with the spring bear hunts. Well, I say spring, right? So it's all relative up there. Well, what are your vessel-based bear hunts like?
We those are based anymore right out of Homer. I've done some out of Prince William Sound, but anymore we're focusing out of Homer. We're doing 6 days, 5 nights on the summer hunts there. Kodiak, we usually do 8 days, 7 nights. At springtime or summertime, obviously our days are a lot longer there. So more time to work with. All of those are a combination bear hunt fishing trip. So we do some mixed groups where maybe not everybody hunts, or not everybody are serious hunters, or somebody gets their bear the first day, they're not on the boat for 5 days. There's all kinds of great fishing opportunities, but those take off usually on a a Sunday morning out of Homer for 6 days, 5 nights. We have a strong bear population right near Homer. We usually go out on the outer coast from here, anywhere from 30 to 70 miles or so, and get away from most people. Most of those are taking place in our spring hunts are May and early June, what we would call spring. Your bears are coming out of hibernation in late April generally, and coming down to the beaches. Obviously, that's where the first vegetation grows. So they're down scouring the beaches and eating whatever washes up in the tide. We've got big tidal fluctuations. So anything from mussels to clams to even seaweed that washes up or anything else dead on the beach there. The bears are out scouring, and they like the early shoots. Their stomachs are a little tender after hibernating, so they'll eat the early shoots on the sunny slopes up to the 300 to 500 foot elevation level. But it kind of concentrates all the bears in the spring. So we're have a little more concentrated target there. A lot of glassing from the boat, a lot of hunting over tidal flats, and then we're doing some hunts a little bit later in kind of early to mid-August. Brian's actually coming back on one of those this year, but those are concentrated in the salmon streams, or you talk about concentrating bears, are even more concentrated this time of year. For us, these bears hibernate a long time. The salmon runs here are what they're eating are generally pretty short. They're maybe a month or so. So that's their big protein source for the year. And so they're in the streams sucking up the protein while they can, which is a pretty short window. So they're very concentrated. And I think for traditional bow hunting, those are probably the best opportunities there. The bears are just concentrating on the salmon. They're not going to wander too far from the streams. It's super scenic, lots of good berry picking. So it's a fabulous place to be, even if you weren't hunting. But the hunting is good, and our spring hunts are good, but your bears are going to be a little more out on the open beaches to where you may be figuring out which way they're going and getting in front of them, or that type of thing. Everything we do is spot and stalk, so we're not sitting in blinds. So it's a little bit different hunt, more challenging at times probably than doing a stand hunt for animals, but a lot of people enjoy that, and our hunters seem to really like the spot and stalk aspect of them.
Yeah, I've had a number of baited bear hunts that I really thoroughly enjoyed, but I love the spot and stalk and getting, stickbow close to the bears. So it's just, I'm looking forward to it. We've got a group of 6 guys, Johnny, Dale Karch, Greg Slesky, Kevin Barr, myself, and we're going in mid-August and really looking forward to it.
Do you get paid to hang out with Kevin? Does his wife pay you to hang out with him?
Well, he provides the alcohol, and it's worth quite a bit, if you know Kevin Barr.
Kevin's entertaining, and he's a great guy. You won't find a nicer guy or a truer friend there. He's good people. We did one of these hunts last August. I used to do a lot of them in Prince William Sound, and which was real conducive to that. And over there, it opened up September 1st. Their pink salmon runs were a little bit later there, so we had about 3 weeks of opportunity we could work with, and then we were doing 5-day trips then, but they end up not opening their season until September 10th, and it just got a little bit too late for us. But we've done a lot of these in the past, but I did one out of Homer this last August, and with all bow hunters, kind of a mix of compound and traditional, and was very successful. Lots of opportunities, lots of passed up shots, and several kills with traditional and compound equipment there, and bears up close to poking them with your bow to scare them off, and it was a quality hunt. I'm really looking forward to doing it again. I'll probably do a couple of them next year. They're nice trips for us too. We like to do a little longer trip. And if you have a bad weather day mixed in, you can enjoy the comforts of the boat and do some fishing in protected waters. And it's a real mixed bag of stuff. And the August trips kind of coincide with the peak of our silver salmon run too. We don't get too many streams that we're hunting that have them in. Mostly pinks running into the streams, but a lot of silver salmon going further up Cook Inlet, and we're catching a lot of those. And then in the Homer area, we get what we call feeder kings. They're immature king salmon that may spawn in British Columbia next year, or Oregon or Washington even, or other Southeast Alaska streams, but they just feed in the area, and they're here year round. Brian can attest when it's good. It's real good. We had some phenomenal fishing here 2-3 weeks ago there, where it was almost ridiculously good.
Yeah, we limited it pretty quick, and then Bill and Jeannie Kistner, they did extremely well too, right?
Yeah, they did real well with those, and had they were here at a good time. It seemed like had some good fishing there. I think they did 3 days with us. There were 2 couples, and I think got all the fish they want, and enjoyed their experience. So.
And Monty Browning and Annie are coming up in August too, and I think Jim Eckhout and his wife Sharon are coming up.
Yeah, I just talked to Jim here a couple days ago, and I think we're all going to have dinner there before we head out on the bear hunt there. I think they get in that day, so that be a good time.
Speaking of bears, what's an average size black bear you guys are taking, and are you running into brown bear in that area as well?
There potentially could be brown bears in the area, but in 29 years of doing these hunts, we've never seen one where we're actively bear hunting. They are in the Homer area and a little bit further up the bay we're on, but for whatever reason, they don't wander out where we are. Size-wise, our spring bears are going to average, maybe 200 pounds. A big bear is 300, and they're going to put on some weight when they get in the salmon streams. Obviously, they're not the biggest bears in the world, but they're decent size on average, and absolutely beautiful hides on them. They're real pretty animals. Like I said, we have the long hibernation season and the short, real productive protein season for them there. So they don't grow to be like a North Carolina bear or something that's eaten year round, but real beautiful animals. They're plentiful. I had my water taxi yesterday, did a little bay tour just right across from Homer there, and saw 6 bears in 2 hours there with a family on board. So kind of a bonus for them, but quite a few bears around. It's good hunting.
So you guys are glassing from the big boat, or you taking running a little boat around, you glassing, checking the wind, and then trying to get a guy with the wind right and then putting a stock on?
Yes, and yes. We're a licensed transporter by the state of Alaska. We're licensed by the Big Game Board, but it's a different classification than the Big Game Guide. And there's some fairly clear differences that we're basically there to transport you, feed you, house you. We can take you to good areas, but we can't point game out to you. We can't assist in the taking of game. We can't go in the field with you, and we can't do meat or trophy care. It's been our experience that the traditional guys are more of a purist hunter that enjoy the whole process themselves. They're not looking for or needing somebody to hold their hand in the field or take care of their trophy for them. They kind of want to get out and do it themselves. So it's been a good fit with the traditional crowd for us, that we provide all the amenities and transportation and logistics and meals, and guys get to go out and hunt on their own, and we're giving pairs of guys a handheld radio for safety reasons, so we can keep track of folks or bring them back in earlier, or they can let us know when they're going to be late, just to keep it all safe. But kind of a fine line between guiding and unguiding, and obviously this is how we feed our families, so we stick to the laws and do things ethically, and these are try never to waste any game. Alaska's pretty strict about that, as they should be, and we're even our bears are great eating for people who don't want them. We have a lot of locals that love the meat, so we make sure people take good care of everything they harvest, and if they want themselves, we can certainly donate it and make good use of it. And they're great animals to honor, so we try and do our part there.
But to me, it's the perfect blend of, you get the DIY experience hunting, but then you have all the luxury of the big boat. And one of the biggest luxuries of that boat is, especially on Kodiak, where it's so wet, you get to hang your gear every night in the engine room and put them on in the morning, and they're dry and warm. So that's a big bonus.
Yeah,
it really is a nice blend to have the luxuries of the meals and the staterooms and the dry clothes, but then be able to be dropped off on shore and hunt all day in a DIY environment.
And we describe it oftentimes, and it's true, as kind of hunting from a mobile lodge. And we take the lodge itself to where the action is, so you're getting a lodge type experience. But if the game move or fish move, we can move everything to a different location, and you can go out and hit it as hard or as easy as you want during the daytime, and come back. And like Brian says, we're fortunate to have a nice walk-through stand-up engine room with the clotheslines in it, and you can dry all your gear out, and you got 5,000 pounds of hot steel with a lot of air movement through it, so it dries real well. And you get up in the morning and you can put on not only dry but warm gear and go out and get it all wet and cold again. But it works pretty well, and it allows that using the boat obviously allows us to do a lot of good fishing too. So we're not just a bear hunt. These are our combination trips that are, if you're more into fishing, it's phenomenal fishing in the area. The sightseeing, we're in the Kachemak Bay State Wilderness Park, bordering on the national park, so it's national park type scenery. So a lot of good stuff. Even if you weren't hunting, they're pretty phenomenal trips.
Wait, my buddy Mike and I we always joke about going on a trip like there, specifically up there with you, and we're like, if it's too windy, you just sit around and eat crab. If it's raining, you sit around and eat crab. If it's too sunny, you can always sit around and eat crab.
Seems like kind of a repeating theme here.
I'm all about food, man.
Hey, Rourke, I think Rob's going to be booked by the time we end the podcast.
That's funny.
Well, I'll text you a couple openings, Rob, while we're working on it.
Hopefully it coincides with good crab fishing. So
summertime trips, we don't crab. That's strictly in Kodiak in the fall. But there are some areas we can do some shrimping, but we've got to get beyond a point that's about 60 miles out to do that. But used to do a lot of that in Prince William Sound with the giant spot prawns, and that's something you just never get tired of. Pulling crab pots or shrimp pots, it's always a mystery as to what you're going to get, and sometimes you think you're going to win the lottery and you come up with a blank, and other times you got a pot of gold there.
But my experience is, on the two Kodiak hunts I've done with Rourke is, the crab, it's huge. You open up a leg, you zip it with a fork, and you pull out basically a big, brat.
Are you kidding me?
Oh, no, they're phenomenal. Yeah.
Oh.
It's truly worth the price of entry just for that.
Cool. Cool.
We're getting pretty good catching the tanner crab, and these are the big Bayardi tanners, so they're plentiful there, and the limits on those are pretty generous. Our our king crab are limited to residents there, but we do purchase some king crab ahead of time, and usually have some of that in the freezer too for the non-residents, and to add into the tanners. For the tanners are a little more challenging to eat, but I think the meat is just as good as a big king, and it kind of slows the gluttonous down there.
Well, you can try, but I'm pretty gluttonous. So
you've met your match.
So with all the names I've been hearing that go up there with you, I know several of them are reputations to be clowns. Now, does anybody ever mess with another person, like maybe put something in a pot, when nobody's looking, and then they come back to pull it up, and maybe there's a shoe in there, or beers, or
somebody's fox carcass, or several. It's kind of a unknown fact that crab don't eat a lot of red meat, so using a fox carcass or something is not really that effective, but a little shock factor. But there's a little bit of that going on, or there may have been some incidents of people having about a half case of crushed beer cans under their bunk, and or nobody's even noticed. But yeah, you know how it is in hunting camp, and after 30 years, we've had some pretty good pranks, and fortunately, not much for major accidents or anything. We try and stay pretty safe, and our Kodiak trips, we're hunting in one of the most famous brown bear areas in the world, so there are bears, and they're neat to see, and they are not inherently aggressive, but they're fun to see. It's pretty open country, and you're generally seeing them at a distance there. But it adds another element to hunting, just to be bear aware. And 30 years, and we'll be cracking the 2,000 deer harvested threshold here probably the first week of this season. So we've taken a lot of animals over the years, and never had a serious bear encounter. So. And in that long of doing it, that says something mostly about us, but says a lot about the bears, that they're not inherently aggressive. South Kodiak has only been home to Sitka black-tailed deer since about 1975. They were planted, and the ones that survived, I believe, in 34 up near Kodiak City, and have migrated all over the island, and they thrive there. It's a great habitat for them. But on the south end of the island where we're at, they saw the first deer in 75. So the bears weren't real multi-generational, as a deer being a prime protein source for them. And it's really still not. They're opportunistic. If one walks by a little too close, they may swat it. But they're the things you may have heard over the years about bears coming to a gunshot like it's a dinner bell. That's all nonsense. If that was the case, people go doing a 10-day bear hunt. They wouldn't spend 10 days doing it if you could just walk in the woods and start shooting a gun off and have to walk into it. It doesn't work that way. They want nothing to do with you, especially the bigger bears. They don't like interacting with people. They're not super social, so they keep their distance, and we just don't have problems with them. But they are pretty neat to see.
Yeah, I know. I've had bear experiences every time I've been in Kodiak, and some, like when I was doing the drop camps, had them walking like 10 yards, behind the tent. You could hear them in the water. But when I was hunting with TJ one time off Rourke's boat, TJ and I went out together, and I went high. TJ went at a mid-mountain range, and all of a sudden I peek over the edge, and I see TJ, and he's just standing there. And then I look down by the beach. I just see this big brown bear get on its hind legs and look at TJ. I'm like, uh-oh, this may not end well. And fortunately, the bear, to Rourke's point, ran the other way. But and then I came down and met up with TJ, and then we went in that bowl we were hunting, and he bumped into another brown bear at about 35 yards, and we hooked back up again. He's like, I'm going back to the boat. I'm out of here. But to Rourke's point, I mean, their tendency is to stay away from you. You know, I give them a lot of respect when I see them, and it's phenomenal to get to see the size bears they are. But fortunately, no real issues relative to being threatened or scared. So
if you're doing that drop camp, which obviously we don't recommend, that's not one of our products, but the Kodiak can be, I think Brian likes the challenge of some of that, but it can be not very pleasant camping at times. We've had multiple groups sleeping on the back deck of our boat that just couldn't take it anymore. And it can be absolutely beautiful too, but there are times where it's pretty harsh. It can be wet and windy and pretty uncomfortable, and the boat starts looking pretty good. But anybody that is going in doing a drop camp, I certainly recommend the electric fence. I think Brian can testify to that probably having two of them with you is just a good idea for sleeping at night and protecting your meat. You don't want to go to all the hard work of harvesting an animal and then have the bears get it.
So Rob, I'll tell you a story. When I was on the drop camp with Monty and Brian Bowling and Wade Joe, so we were hunting the south end of the island as well, and we had Rourke's inReach, and we had an inReach unit, and Rourke every night would text us for what they were getting ready to have for dinner as we were getting our mountain house ready. I like, just texted back, "You suck, Rourke." Just rubbing it in. But no, it's like I said, I like both. The drop camps and the boat trips. They're just different, and there's the boat gives you the DIY experience when you're out in the field, but then you come back to the comfort. So it's a pretty good combination.
So Brian, you could set your little tent up on the back deck of the boat there.
I thought about it.
So what's the season on Sitka Blacktail? And my other question is, they are such a unique animal. What are the roots of them? I mean, where did they? I mean, sounds like a basic question. Maybe I should already know, but were they transplanted there? I mean, they're such a unique animal. They're short and stocky looking, and where they?
I'm not an expert on the history, but I know a fair amount about after the years, and they're indigenous to Southeast Alaska. I believe there's just a dividing line. I'm not sure exactly where it is between Columbia blacktail and Sitka blacktail, even though, like you say, they don't look that much alike. When I was young, I grew up in Western Oregon hunting Columbia blacktail, so I've kind of been a blacktail guy for over 5 decades here. But they look quite a bit different. The deer in Prince William Sound and Kodiak Island were transplanted. I believe the first ones in Kodiak. We were just talking about the process. It wasn't a real. I have a book on the boat that some of the guys were looking at a couple of weeks ago called Sitka Man, about the guy that one of the stories was him rounding up the deer for transplant, and it was not a real scientific deal. It was more having the dogs run them in the water and scoop them out of the water, and here you go, here's your deer, where's my check? But they were first transplanted to Kodiak, I believe, in 1929. I don't think that bunch made it, and they transplanted more in, I believe, 1934 to Long Island, which is kind of straight out from Kodiak City. And those have done real well. They've expanded to all the different islands. They're pretty good swimmers, so we've seen quite a ways offshore that, whatever reason, get a hair up their butt, so to speak, to move on to new areas. So they've inhabited pretty much all the islands around Kodiak, which are numerous. And I've seen some estimates up to 100,000 deer now. I'm not sure what the exact number is. But same thing in Prince William Sound. There seemed to be a lot of transplanting going on right around that era. And those deer were all transplanted there. The the sound is a little heavier timber, a little not quite as good a habitat as South Kodiak. North Kodiak is pretty heavy timber too, so it's a little bit different terrain there. They both support some good deer, but South Kodiak is more of a feed lot, so to speak. Pretty much everything they've transplanted there has done well. The mountain goats, I think, were transplanted in about 1950, and they've thrived. And there are reindeer or caribou that were ranched on the south end of the island, and those were released and still survive real well. We do get some caribou in our area where we hunt down there. Seeing them more and more the last few years, and bison on the island, and they ranch cattle. It's just it's a pretty rich area for animal survival, and a lot of feed there. The deer themselves, like you say, are kind of unique. They're very short-legged but big barrel chests, and I don't know where it came from, or maybe it's just from people shooting them on the beach, but people have the misconception that they're small animals, and they're really not a small animal. If you shoot one back a ways, it's all I want to carry out anymore. Even doing one full animal is pushing the envelope with the type of terrain walking on Kodiak. But a lot of the mature bucks we're shooting, not exceptional ones, but just average mature deer are 190 or 200 pounds live weight, and say just shorter legs but big barrel chests. Are very hardy animals, and you can tell they live in mountainous country. I think they've adapted over the years and morphed slightly to more of the mountainous terrain, and they're very hardy animals. They're phenomenal eating. You go a long ways trying to find a better venison animal to eat than these deer, and that's what my family has been raised on, and we're fortunate that we get to hunt some while we're on Kodiak and bring some meat home. So yeah, great stuff.
But I mean, to me, they are the most handsome deer out there. When they've got that double white throat patch, they've got that chocolate forehead, the dark antlers, and they just are very handsome.
Yeah, I would have said the same thing. That throat patch is so unique, and then barrel chested, like you say, they are just a tough looking critter. They're just tough looking.
They're pretty tough animals. They're just very hardy. They survive challenging conditions, and beautiful animals. Fun to hunt. We hear sometimes that, boy, those deer are really stupid, and it's like, well, they're really not. If you had a whitetail that just lived in a remote area that didn't see a lot of people, their behavior is going to be a lot different too. So these are an easier animal to hunt than probably your average Midwest whitetail would be. But stupid is not a word I would use for them.
No, I would agree, Rourke. I mean, to me, the word I would use is they're curious. They see a lot of human activity, and when they do, they're just like, what is that? And for a traditional bow hunter, that bodes really well, because you can try calling, you can try decoying with the hats, etc. But they are a curious animal, and that makes it fun.
Have you done much calling, Brian?
Well, I didn't up until this last year's hunt with Ben Penny, and then he had to call, and I was shocked at how effective it was. I mean, it was like 5 seconds after he blew on a distress call that we had deer running at us. Okay, I'm a believer now.
What, running at you, were they both does and bucks? Because I know the does will come in sometimes. Bucks come in too?
Yeah, what happened in the first calling sequence, it was a doe and a fawn that came running, and the doe was on hyper alert looking for the fawn. But we also had bucks come in as well. So during the rut, it seems to work on bucks too.
Huh. I'll be dang. Now, going back to when they were transplanted, Rourke, what was the reason? Obviously, a food source for cannery or something.
I think primarily just a food source and recreational opportunity back. Those people forget those were territorial days in Alaska. We weren't even a state yet, and they were. It seemed to be a little more common thinking back then, or it was easier to transplant things, and they were more willing, I guess, to experiment with different areas. They even transplanted Dall sheep on Kodiak, and they made it quite a while, but it's one of the few species that didn't make it. And I think they probably actually would if they tried it again, but it's kind of questionable there. But a lot of people are probably familiar on the northern islands of Afognak and Raspberry. They transplant Roosevelt elk since it is heavy timber up there, and they've done real well too. And there's a few of them on Kodiak and the other islands, but the primary islands are Afognak and Raspberry, and they're kind of your typical. They're kind of like the deer. They're big, strong animals, and antlers aren't quite as big as you may get down your area in Western Oregon or Washington, but big, sturdy animals, and they've thrived pretty well. So whatever reason back then, I'm not sure exactly what it is. They were willing to transplant, try just about anything, I think, and most of it worked on Kodiak.
How about wolves? Do you have wolves on Kodiak?
No, fortunately, there none at all. There are some on the mainland here where we hunt, but we've seen a couple over the years, usually just single animals. There are a few around, but they don't seem to be too many right here. There's some packs that are 30 or 40 miles more north and inland from us, but don't see it.
Idaho and Colorado could loan you some.
We've had that problem in the past and have dealt with it. I'll leave it at that. I'm getting in trouble here.
Appropriately.
Yeah, they used to transplant caribou, or they called them all reindeer up here. At one time, there were about 650,000 reindeer that were more domesticated or ranched in Alaska, and they had huge issues with the wolves, and they were brought in as I believe, food source for the locals, and had a lot of wolf issues, and there's a lot of history there.
Hey, Rourke, speaking about some killed on Kodiak, the winters. I know Kodiak's had a number of mild winters here recently, but in terms of winter kill, what's your experience relative to different areas of the island in winter kill?
Again, people don't realize that Southeast Alaska is fairly far south, and Juneau being kind of center of it, and big population center in our capital. Well, Kodiak City is actually farther south than Juneau, and where we're hunting on the south end of the island, we're exactly the latitude of Sitka, so we're pretty far south. Winters are more warm, wet, and windy. As you get more towards North Kodiak, you're going to get a little bit colder temperatures, more of the timber, probably a little less food source for game. So survival-wise, the south end is generally going to be better. Like you say, we've had about 10 years of pretty mild winters there. I think this last one, at least on the south end, was pretty mild again, and our deer populations are extremely high. It's been some pretty phenomenal hunting here the last few years, and like I said, this will be year number 30 down there for me, so I've seen some ups and downs. The area we hunt in seems to always have, they may not be everywhere, but there's some big pockets where there's real high survival even in a bad winter, so they do pretty well there.
How many deer are you allowed now as a non-resident?
Good question. It's been 3 for quite a few years. Used to be 4. People say 5, and as long as I've been doing it, I don't remember it being 5, but at least in our area, there's some other, even in Prince William Sound, I think it's 5, and they don't have near the population. I've never understood that, if they're harder to hunt, and some areas in the southeast have a high limit also. But Kodiak's been 3 for a decade or better there, and one advantage of going on the boat is we're a licensed vendor, so we encourage people to buy their license and one tag ahead of time, and then when they fill a tag, you can just purchase another tag on board. So it's not one and done, or you don't have to buy 3 tags and hope you fill them all, or buy one and gosh, it's great hunting. I wish I'd got another one, so we can take care of that out in the field.
Make for some spontaneous decisions.
Easy ones.
Well, no, honey, I'm just going to fly one deer back. I'm just going to get one deer tag. I promise. So are you guys, do you guys utilize any aircraft? I mean, you guys, getting to the boat?
We have, because we're for where we're hunting on South Kodiak, just to Kodiak City for me is somewhere around 16 hours of running time. So we keep the boat right on site. It stays, it's designed to live on. We've got a water maker on board and can get fuel on the south end occasionally. We fly in fresh food, but it's made for long endurance living on board. So it's pretty comfortable. So we fly all of our hunting clients from Kodiak right down to the boat. So you get onto a float plane. We're generally using 2 beavers a week, and we'll take 6 guys. And if I'm changing crew out, our crew members, and then some fresh groceries, and fly people down Saturday morning. And then the previous group comes back on those same airplanes. So we hot seat the airplanes to keep the cost down some. So you're generally 45 minutes to an hour from Kodiak City and flying on a beaver, and they'll pull right up to the back of the boat, and you step right off the airplane onto the boat. So there's not a lot of wasted running time. The area we're hunting in, we're closed off from the open ocean, so we don't get any ocean swell. It's impossible to get. It's like being on a saltwater lake, and it's fed by a small narrows. It's a little tight getting into, which also keeps the tide out. So we, on a big tide where we are, we get foot to a foot and a half of vertical rise and fall. Where in Homer here on our biggest tide of the year, we'll get about 28 feet. So it makes it awfully nice for skiffing or for the crew to get out and hunt, where we can pull the skiff up on the beach and it's actually there when we come back. It's a nice feature.
But the flight out to the boat is on Kodiak is, I mean, you've got a 45-minute flight, and it's like a sightseeing tour. I mean, you're seeing glaciers, high alpine lakes, all the mountains, Mount Goats, etc. So I mean, it is really neat to make that flight, and then you basically float right up to the boat and unload stuff. So it's really convenient.
And an air taxi we're using is pretty full service. So you get to Kodiak, and they've got van service. They can pick you up at the airport, take you to the motel, pick you up in the morning, take you into shop. They've got a walk-in freezer, a walk-in cooler,
nice.
Gear room to store any hard cases or extra stuff. And we encourage people, if you have the time, not everybody does, but if you have it, and you come to Kodiak a couple days early, and there's some great history there, some great fishing on the road system. It's a neat place to spend a little time. So good place to be. And we're also branching out in our business here in Homer into more aircraft related products. We've done a lot of in the past some fly to the boat type long range trips, again, to where we're moving the lodge to where the hot action is for fishing or whatever we happen to be doing, and we'll fly you right to the boat and fly people back from it. And if we need to a fish flight midstream, we're business partners purchased a air taxi, so we have a de Havilland Otter on floats and a Cessna 206 on floats. And he's primarily doing not so much the bear viewing, but more of the charter type flights and hunting drop offs. So anybody considering the South Central area, it's a good option. Our Otter can take well over 2,000 pounds at a time, so it can take a pretty comfortable camp and a group of guys, and a pretty incredible aircraft. It's one of the few radio Otters left in the world, and we have a lot of people that'll fly to Homer just to actually fly on the aircraft itself. It's
No kidding.
a beautiful airplane. We like being more of a full adventure type company. We do the vessel based hunts, and we do the day trip fishing for anybody that wants to just do salmon or halibut type trips or combo trips. But I just do multiple day trips on the boat we use for the hunt. So we're out doing anything from mothership kayaking to multiple day fishing, like Brian and the buddies did here just a couple of weeks ago. We do a lot of that. But usually, we have a sea kayaking business and cabin rentals and water taxi, but we're trying to do more of the full adventure type packages, utilizing the aircraft more. My kids are getting into flying, and my partner's kids are flying, so we bought another trainer aircraft, and be happy to say my daughter just soloed yesterday at the age of 17, and my son's been flying since we had to stack up a couple blankets on the seat so he could see over the cowling there. So
no kidding.
So
that's cool.
Doing some cool stuff, yeah.
But I don't know if you know this, but I was chatting with Ashton on the boat when we were fishing, and he's agreed to be my Alaskan, flying partner, my captain.
I hoping my daughter has her privates here in August sometime, and she wants to jump right into commercial rating and float rating and instrument rating, and she's pretty fired up. She soloed yesterday morning, and I went down last night, and she was back in the airplane by herself flying the pattern, and did a dozen takeoffs and landings, and yeah, she's pretty fired up.
Cool.
It's fun to see, and aviation is such a big part in Alaska that we use planes for everything, and to have them in house now, it gives us all the tools to create an adventure that anybody can pretty much imagine. If you can imagine that, we can probably put it together for you.
Well, I got to tell you though, if I come up there and somebody says, "Well, yeah, you're going to be flying out on the trainer," if I hear that, I'm going to have it's going to be cause for concern. I'm not a good flyer.
No, that one's on wheels. That one's just build hours with we've got some great pilots and great aircraft, and it's such limited road system in Alaska. You kind of have to fly to get a lot of places, and it's part of the adventure here.
So speak to what the process is on getting meat back to the States down here, or hides. How does that work? And Brian, I'm sure you can fill us in, but between the two of you, how does that work? What's that look like?
Well, like I said, we'll cross the 2,000 deer threshold here, so we've handled quite a few of them here. We have waxed airline meat boxes with liners on board the boat. We usually make those up on Friday, and you fly back out to Kodiak on Saturday. The temperature down there is generally perfect for hanging meat. We do have some freezer space, but you can hang meat in our last half the day. You can box meat up in airline approved boxes that are ready to go right on the plane with you. If you can take them as luggage, that's the cheapest route. They can be shipped, but meat can be donated in Kodiak if somebody doesn't want all. Obviously, most of our clientele are pretty avid hunters, and this is not their first deer hunt of the season, and several times, the freezers are full at home, but that's an option. But it is phenomenal meat, so we make up the meat boxes, and they go right on the airplane back into town. As I mentioned, our air taxi has a walk-in cooler and a walk-in freezer, and most of the motels in Kodiak and a lot of Anchorage ones and even the Anchorage airport have a place to store boxes. If you're not going straight home, you can have them frozen there and take it all the way home. Out of Homer, with the bear meat or bear hides, kind of the same thing, but we have processors in town that handle huge volumes of fish and FedEx overnight everywhere. So your meat or hides or fish can be boxed up and here shipped to you, or they like you to box up any bear meat or hide yourself, but you can buy a box from them and they'll store it and you pick it up and they go right on the airline with you. They're insulated boxes they'll hold fish generally frozen for 36 hours or better. So it gives you time to get home with a high quality product and no wastage.
Yeah, I don't leave any meat in Alaska. I bring it all home. And to Rourke's point, what I do is just put it in his check baggage, and it's always rock solid when I get home. So
nice.
It works out well.
Nice. So we got fishing, you got bear hunting, and you got deer hunting. We missing anything?
All kinds of other products, but as far as the traditional crowd, that's one thing we find. We check in fishermen in the morning. There's sometimes we have 50 people going out on different boats for day trips in the morning, and a large percentage are wearing camouflage. And they're some guys, that's all the rain gear they have. They're hunters first, and which is great. And so we like to get them on our mailing list or keep in contact with them. But I don't know too many avid hunters that are not fishermen also. So, we have a lot of product overlap there that they may want to bring the family up, and not everybody hunts, unfortunately, but come up and do a fishing trip or that type of thing, or the products we can do. Maybe not everybody in the group wants to hunt, but they can fish on the bear hunts, and we've had people come to Kodiak that wipe the dew off the window and say, "Oh, the weather's setting in here. I guess we'll have to sit this one out and just stay on the boat and play cribbage and have a good time." So I guess what I'm getting at is most hunters fish, and we offer a lot of fishing products, and there are a few hunters that don't fish, but not that many. It's been our experience. So
yeah. Well, cool. I gotta just say, looking at Brian sitting in his vehicle, I was surprised. It looks to me like it's one of those new Ford Broncos on the interior there, but he probably needs to get back out on the water.
I'm ready to get out on the water, but no, the good thing now, Rob, is I run an industry association that represents all automakers. So
dang it.
I'm okay with that. I did see the pictures. That looks pretty sweet.
That is a cool looking rig.
Brian will be back in a couple of weeks to do a bear hunt with us, and then a moose hunt, and then a deer hunt, and so he's working on his residency status here. He's probably getting might be close to moving out of Michigan and finding a second home here.
You know what? You definitely have a better governor.
Yeah. I wasn't going to say it, but the thought crossed my mind.
Yeah.
You can say whatever you want, because I'm pretty sure that governor doesn't listen to this show.
And our governor is 6'8" too, so he's a big dude.
Oh, that's awesome.
I will say, we just went up there on the fishing trip, and the whole COVID, the testing situation and all that, it is a breeze to get through the airport. So, if that's a concern in your mind, and we were a little concerned because it's just the unknown, but it was a very easy process to get through the airport. So no issues there. But Rourke, I'm really looking forward to seeing you again in mid-August, and I'm sure we're going to have a grand time. And I want one of those bears that I can poke with my longbow.
That can definitely happen in the salmon stream. There are close encounters, and it's that's a spectacular area. Boy, if you don't like walking up one of those streams, something's the matter with you. And the fish are so thick, they're hitting you in the ankles, and it's pretty fun time. And that's phenomenal area down there. So we're gonna have a great time.
Brian, did you say longbow?
Yes, longbow.
What?
Yeah.
Man, 2020.
Yeah, I like longbows in Alaska.
Well, 2020 it's full of surprisers.
Yeah.
Hey man, I appreciate both of you guys taking time off to Saturday. I'm probably going to slip downstairs and hug my wife and put a bug in her ear about, hey, Alaska's pretty cool. I probably need to go back.
You ought to take her with you.
What's that, Rourke?
Something for everybody here. I'm sure we've got something she'd enjoy.
Well, the wheels are turning when you mention that August hunt and fishing and bear hunting. I might
we'll have a good testimonial for you here in a few weeks here. You can see how it went for the gang.
Well, that sounds like a gang. That's the right term.
Motley crew.
We're a tribe. We're a trad tribe.
Trad tribe. That's a good one. All right, guys. Well, if you guys, I couldn't get Brian to bite on the whole Ford Bronco thing. I thought of that halfway through, and I was like laying and waiting for that.
Nice try.
Confused. All right. Well, you guys have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Rob. Great talking with you.
Yeah. Oh, hey, whoa, time out. Now, where can people find you?
Probably the easiest way is Homer Ocean Charters at Gmail, and our website is homerocean.com. This day and age, those are the easiest there. Homer Ocean Charters at Gmail and homerocean.com.
Well, I'll have.
Go ahead, Ron.
I'll have links to both those in the show notes. So just go right to the show notes and click on them and check it out.
We just launched a new website here probably 6 weeks ago after a lot of years and needed some updating. So we're hopefully cutting edge. We paid enough. We should be anyway. So.
And Rourke, you're on Facebook and Instagram too, right?
Correct. Yeah, I have people that do that for me.
I'm gonna.
Well, yes, we are. Rumor has it.
Well, I'm gonna throw a few names out there that I bet are not doing it for you.
Yeah.
Right on. All right, guys. And Brian, I appreciate your time. You've been up there a bunch, and I just thought it'd be great. You're on here enough that thought it'd be great to have your input.
Thanks for doing it. Happy to be on. And like I said, Rourke, looking forward to seeing you again real soon.
Won't be long. Yeah. Thanks, Brian.
All right. You guys take care.
You too.
All right. See you, Rob.